here, and my hard drive is going to slide into that, and we're going to bolt it down, and my floppy drive.
You're doing it the easy way. Well, I could put my hard drive in there, but I want to show you how to do the 3.5-inch drive and the 5.25-inch bay. One other thing on the floppy drives, actually on any drive that has to be accessed from the front, you'll notice that these cases have panels, all cases do, on the front to block unused bays. Your hard drive will sit behind one of these panels, but I'm going to have to open up this panel for the floppy drive.
One of the things you're going to do is take a look at this. Now you notice something, we're working on these before. You couldn't see through the case. See how we've taken this, both sides of the case off. There's a reason we did that. When you're putting these drives in here, you know what? It sounds a little crazy. You got a couple holes on this side to fill in with screws. You got a couple holes on this side to fill in with screws. If you don't put them in on both sides, your drive goes like this. It also makes it go like this, and it can just...
No vibration. We want everything firm and solid. Now, I'm going to show you, remember I'm doing this the hard way. I'm going to show you how you could put a 3.5-inch drive in a 5.25-inch slot. And just like Patrick said, we don't want it rolling around. So we're going to put these mounting rails on the side of the hard drive. They're very easy to put on. You just line them up with the screw holes right here, and you'll put screws in to these and attach them firmly to it. And then that's going to give the drive the width it needs to be able to slide in to that 5.25-inch opening.
Notice something, just for convenience, I taped my cables up here so they don't beat me in the face every 15 seconds when I turn it around.
We're going to set the jumpers, make sure that we have them jumpered properly. It's usually not a big deal when you're only putting in one drive, but if you have multiple drives, on the IDE channel, one drive is a master and one drive is a slave. In fact, while I got the drive out, let me show you where you would set that. You've got these jumpers on the back here, and if it's only one drive on the channel, well, then it'll be set up as master, as this one is. But if you're going to add a second drive down the road, you're going to have to re-jigger these jumpers, and it explains how to set it up here so that the second drive can be the slave drive. The computer will boot from the master drive. So that's the drive where your operating system is going to be. The secondary drive can hold data or anything else, but the operating system is going to be on the master drive. Same thing if you're putting in a CD. If there's only one CD and there's nothing else on that IDE channel, it can be the master. But if you have, let's say, a CD and a zip, or a CD and a CD recorder, one will have to be master and one will have to be slave. It's probably not a good idea to mix slower devices like CDs with faster devices like hard drives on the same IDE channel. You get two channels in each computer, separate the CDs and the, we'll show you that when we cable it, and the hard drive, so they don't slow each other down.
Ah, Leo.
Are you there?
You want to see something?
You feeling good?
I'm feeling good. Installing my CDRW over here. I'm going to move on to the DVD.
Let me show you. The rails are on the hard drive, and what it's just done is it's made this, thin 3.5-inch hard drive into a fat 5.25-inch hard drive that's going to slide into the drawer space of the 5.25-inch slot right here very easily, and then I'm going to be able to screw it down. So it's just an adapter, basically. That means that smaller drive can fit easily into the wider drive slot there. And once I get that in, I'm going to put in my CD. Because it's a hard drive, I didn't have to open up the front panel for this. That's just for the drives that need front access like this. A 3.5-inch floppy drive. I'm going to slide in there like that. And notice again, we want to make sure that those are flush with the front of the case. So you can kind of play with that so that it gets just flat there like that. And the same thing with the CD drive. And then once you've got that in there and lined up the way you want it, you can attach the screws and tighten them down. Another little finesse, kind of missed on this one. We matched the front bezel of the DVD drive very nicely to the case, but this is kind of a little bit off color. It's a yellowish ivory instead of the modern gray beige, and that happens sometimes. But if you really want to have a case look good like a pro did it, you want to look very carefully when you do your shopping and get these tones to match exactly. Because otherwise it looks just a little bit off.
That's really tough with silver cases and black plastic cases. They're not that common, but they're out there. I've actually seen a lot of the companies that use those. It's really tough to get a CD-ROM or a DVD drive that matches a silver or a black case. Sometimes you can find special components that are designed for that. A lot of guys, they just take it out very carefully. They cover over the important spots, like the spot where the LED or something is on the front, and they spray paint it.
They spray paint it, folks.
You can do that. I don't know how comfortable I am with that, because if you get spray paint inside of the CDRW or the DVD drive, it's going to be useless.
It's not a good thing.
What you can do, though, is you can actually, and this is advanced. This is not something to take lightly. If you really want to have one of those silver or black cases, you can actually remove the plastic face off the front of that CDRW or DVD drive, spray paint it far away from anything you think is valuable, especially the inside of this computer, and take care of it that way. So how's it going? You got the drive rails.
It's good. I got the drive rails. One thing that I always do wrong, and don't forget this, is when you insert this drive, and I just did it now, make sure that the connector is facing the back of the case so you can attach the cables. Whoops. So I just had to take this out. I put it in this way, and obviously I can't attach the cables here.
You know what? You might be tempted to grab your cables right now and start playing, because you got all this a floppy drive, the IDE, the hard drive, CDRW.
I can connect them now, Pat. I'm all ready to connect them.
Don't do it, because you still got a bunch of stuff to put inside the system. Cables take up a lot of space. You're going to need that space to work inside this box and put the rest of the stuff in place.
I'm going to finish up, then we're going to show you how to install the expansion cards, and then we're going to put the data and the power cables in, and we're almost ready to turn this thing on. Let's recap real quickly. We've installed the various drives in our machines. Remember, leave the case open until you're finished, so if you have to make any changes, you can do it easily. There's no reason to close it all up right now. A good idea, if you've got drives that are smaller than the space you're putting them in, is to put mounting rails on those drives. Make sure on the motherboard all the jumpers are set correctly, the jumpers on the drives too, and always check the positioning of the cables so that they're oriented properly and the components are positioned well so they're flush with the front of the case. It looks nicer that way. One other tip, get components, if you at all can, get components that are going to match the case. It just gives it a nicer finished look so all the colors are the same. Now, it's time to add our cards. This is the easiest thing to do, and it's something you'll probably be doing a lot of.
The good thing about these cards, you figure out how to put one in, you figured out how to put all of them
They're
in.
all pretty much the same. They may go in different slots, though. Currently, in today's PCs, you find 3 different kinds of slots. The AGP slot, this is an AGP card, and it's noticeable because it's got 2 notches in it. It's a short thing, and in fact, this one has a little extender, a little clip on it. The AGP card is currently used only for video cards. You'll also find PCI slots. That's the most common kind of slot. Most machines today have 4 or 5 PCI slots. They look like, the PCI cards look like this. And the PCI cards usually are sound cards, modems, network interface cards, things like that. The old cards are called ISA cards, ISA for Industry Standard Architecture. Those are longer cards. They're legacy. That means they're old-fashioned. In most cases, you don't want to use them if you don't have to. And in many motherboards, they don't even have ISA slots anymore. Patrick, you can show us what those slots look like right now.
As a matter of fact, almost no new motherboards actually have ISA slots inside of them. If we cut in tight here, the brown one that's set back here, that is going to be your AGP slot. The short white slots are PCI slots. Now, this one has an unusual little critter down at the side. If I'm not mistaken, this is an audio modem riser.
AMR slot. That's right.
And those use little proprietary, huge. Those do. It's basically on it uses your sound.
Now, to the case that's keeping the case for air and dust. In most cases, those will unscrew. This particular clip on for that. Here's in general how you put it in cards. You remove the protector on the back of the board, slide it in, align it with the back of the case.
I got a question for you, Leo.
And I push, and it's in.
How do you know which PCI slot to use?
Well, you don't. If you look in your motherboard manual, it'll show which slots share interrupts or share resources and work out quite right. Move them around in the thing until you get everything so that it can work together.
Something I like to do, I've got an audio card right here. I tend to put the audio card in the PCI.
Do that, except
not always good for
I'm not going to put it at the very bottom because this motherboard has kind of an unusual feature. The USB and FireWire connectors attached to a header on the motherboard, and then the connectors themselves are going to go in the opening where a card would normally go. And I'm going to do that in the bottom because I like to have my connectors at the bottom of the case. So I'm going to do what you'd suggested, which is move the sound card to the second to the last slot and then use this last slot for this. This riser will connect right to some jumpers that are right on the motherboard. It'll be, if you have this kind of thing, it'll be in your manual. This actually comes with the motherboard. It's in addition to the existing USB connectors I have in the back here. I have an additional USB slot, and I have FireWire. You gotta love that. That's pretty nice. Oh no, that's not FireWire. That's just another USB connector.
Ah, well.
Oh, I got my hopes up for nothing.
Don't let it bother you, kid.
You're going to put your modem in there?
Yeah, you know, normally you use either a modem or an